Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have with me Jamie Santillo. Hey, Jamie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I am so excited to have you. You are in the sunny state of Florida, and right now in Georgia, even though it's close, we're pretty cold here. So I'm thinking of Florida.
It's a little cooler here than our normal, but for other parts of the world that are snowing and below freezing, I'll keep my Florida, that's for sure.
That is for sure. So I'm going to read your bio just so people know who you are. So, with a bachelor's degree in mass communications from the University of South Florida and a master's in management from Bellevue University, Jamie Santillo is the founder and CEO of the marketing firm JS Creative Concepts and Marketing, as well as the travel agency Adventures by Jamie. In addition to her businesses, Jamie is the lead development coach with Wanderlust Campus and sits on a number of advisory boards. Born with congenital muscular dystrophy and a full time power wheelchair user, Jamie has had to think outside of the box in many areas of her life. This mindset has crossed into her career, making her an absolute powerhouse for her client success and all those she partners with. Jamie is in a loving, interabled relationship with her boyfriend, Kevin. An adventure seeker by heart, she soared in a hot air balloon, zip-lined over alligators, and most recently went indoor skydiving. Next on the heart-pounding adventure list is flying in an open-air biplane and doing acrobats. All right, you're really brave.
Yes, ma'am.
Exciting.
Yeah, I love finding things that people would think, being a wheelchair user, you wouldn't be able to do. And so the minute I find that something is accessible, I'm like, alrighty then, challenge accepted.
That is so cool. Well, tell us your story. Tell us about you.
So, I mean, as you mentioned, I was born with congenital muscular dystrophy. I'm 46 years old. I've never walked. And so this is all I've ever known. And unfortunately, I have faced a lot of challenges in the fact that, when people see somebody with a disability, 9 times out of 10, there is this automatic questioning of their capability. I've been told, no, you can't, more times than I can count because I'm in a wheelchair. Nothing to do with actually my abilities. And so, as an example, when I was trying to figure out how to go away to college, because where I lived, there were no 4-year universities. So I had done my 2 years and wanted to continue to get the bachelor's, but I had to go away. I was told time and time again that you know, that whether it was home health agencies or, and not that I wanted to go to a nursing home, but just having that kind of care come to me at school. Um, oh, we can't provide that, or you're disabled, but you're not disabled enough to qualify for services. And I just thought, okay, I can't be the only person in a wheelchair to ever go away to school. And, I don't need round the clock care, but I can't get dressed myself. I can't transfer myself. I can't fully shower myself. So those daily living skills, I needed help. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my parents, but I didn't want to take my mom and dad to college with me. I wanted that true experience. And I'm very stubborn in a good way. I'm a Taurus, and I like to think I do well by that you know horoscope sign. But basically, like, I don't take no for an answer very well, you know. So I got to the governor of our state at the time and told him what my situation was and is there anything that he or government could do to help in this scenario. And what he told me without hesitation was typically people in wheelchairs aren't smart enough to go to college, so we don't worry.
Huh.
And that was the end of our conversation. So I knew from that moment I could not count on my government to help me. And I was very, very blessed that I had friends that were willing to do what I needed. I thought that I would, um, that I would go away for 2 years, get my degree, and move back home. Like I thought, at least I can do the 2 years. And I moved away from home in 1998, and I've never been home since. So, got the degree, and I got my first real job right 2 weeks before graduating college, doing graphic design and desktop publishing for a Fortune 500 company. And from there, I went on to do marketing for Shriners Hospitals for Children, which was a blessing to me because I was a patient there as a child. And so I felt like I was giving back to the organization that did so much for me. And after 12 years working with them, I opened JS Creative Concepts and Marketing. And within that company, I do a lot of event planning. And those clients would ask me, in addition to planning the event, can you also book the hotel, book the flight, the car rental, all of those things? And I could, but I wasn't a travel agent, so I didn't have all the access to things that I would need, and I wasn't going to get commission from the suppliers that you book through. So I did some research of, well, how do you become credentialed? And I did that with really the sole intent of filling a need for my marketing company. I had no desire to start an agency. But once I had everything that I needed, and a few months went by, I'm like, wait a minute, I know how difficult travel is for me being a wheelchair user. And that doesn't stop me though from seeing the world. And if I could help make it easier for people, maybe I should look into doing this because I knew there really weren't any, at least that I knew of, agencies that catered to that demographic. So in 2019, Adventures by Jamie was born. And now, we have over 100 agents on our team. We, the last 2 years, have been named Best Travel Agency in Florida. I mean, I'm just so proud of everything that we're doing there. And as I am in a very, very loving relationship with Kevin. He and I have been together since 2013. And, I'm asked a lot, especially by young girls that are disabled, if they have to be in a relationship with someone that is also disabled. And I tell them, absolutely not. Kevin is a 6 foot tall, strapping guy, you and I mean, we've just had a wonderful, wonderful relationship together. I'm divorced, and my ex-husband, able-bodied as well. So to me, just love is love, So, yeah, I just feel very, very blessed all the way around, from my family to my career to my relationship with Kevin. It's wonderful.
So, just from the story you told about you need assistance with daily living things. So, when you travel, do you always have an assistant that goes with you, or how do you do things like that?
So it's either, 99% of the time I'm traveling with Kevin and knows how to do everything. So he becomes the primary caregiver. I am also very, very blessed with the most wonderful best friend ever that has been a caregiver, like the primary caregiver for me on and off since goodness 2020, so very, very, oh no, not 2020, 2000, so over 20 years he has helped me, lives with me and Kevin. So after I got divorced, I really wanted to make sure that in the future, whatever relationship that I had, that my significant other wasn't necessarily the primary caregiver, you know. Even though my ex-husband never, he claimed that that was never an issue. But I like to try to keep to some break, there. So it's not all on him. But I guess just I'm so blessed with a wonderful best friend that is willing to be that support for me. So if I'm not traveling with Kevin, I'm traveling with my best friend. So yeah. But as far as like getting outside help or anything like that from an agency, I don't have any of that. I never have.
So, if you were to speak to young women, you did talk about it a little bit about, dating and relationships. But if you were going to talk to your 10, 11, 12-year-old self, what things would you tell her about preparing to be the best you can be?
Yeah, I mean, I would just tell her to always believe in yourself. And, you are going to face challenges, whether you're disabled or not. You're going to face challenges in this world. And there are people that are going to try to make things difficult for you, that are going to maybe bully you. But stay just focused, stay, within your faith. And just always look for the positive during, the day. Even if it's been a really, really bad day, there's always one good thing that you can hold on to, that happened in that day. It might just be that you saw a beautiful flower that day, but you know what? So you hold on to that flower, and you always want to fail forward, because we're, we're human and we can't always win, and there will be road bumps and obstacles that you're going to have to face, and you're not always going to come out on top. But going through life's challenges, there are life lessons there. So use those. Don't get frustrated. I mean, you're going to get frustrated. I get it. But, don't hold on to that frustration and take away positive things that you can, and, you know, use it to better yourself in the future, and don't also, like, when it comes to dating and all of that, don't lose sight of who you are. Looking back, especially in my marriage, by the end of that marriage, I had lost who Jamie was. You know, I really had. And I never would want 12-year-old me to go through what I did, So I would certainly say always, always be true to you and find somebody that loves you for you.
Mhm. And you talked about talking to the governor and asking for help. And the comment he said, well, people in wheelchairs basically he said they didn't do anything, which is, I just felt like someone dropped a brick on me when you said that. Like, that's just unbelievable that one of our public servants would, first of all, even say that, even if he even if he believed it, to actually verbalize that.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that people are becoming more aware now than they were when you first started out getting accessibility for people?
Yes and no. I think that people are definitely more sensitive, I feel like, to accessibility rights and, the importance of inclusion and everything. But I can't tell you, how often. I mean, I'm very active on social media, especially for the travel agency to promote it and everything. And we'll talk about different things that have happened where, we're at a hotel as an example, and it claims to be accessible, but it's really not, and being told by people that I'm just being entitled, and you can't expect that everybody is going to, you know, bow to your every need and all of that. And they look at, asking for accommodation as entitlement versus an equal right that I should have, you know? Um, so yes, I think that we have come further over the years, since the ADA was enacted and everything, but I still feel that we have a long, long way to go.
Mhm. Yeah. And I remember going and checking out the YMCA recently because I was thinking, where am I? I ended up at the fitness center, but I was checking it out and they were giving me a tour, and the entrance had all these stairs, like this real pretty stairway. And I went up the stairs and I'm looking around and I'm like, where's the ramp? I was looking to see where is it? And when I got in there on the tour, I said, by the way, where is your handicapped entrance? Where are your elevators? And she said, oh, they're over here. It's just that the ramps are on the side of the building. I'm like, oh, okay, because I couldn't imagine a YMCA without access for people. But I wasn't aware of that, and really until a few years ago when I met another friend who was wheelchair bound, and I became really aware. But I think part of it's people just they don't think about it because they're not dealing with it.
Right. And that's the thing. And I in no way hold against anybody, that doesn't have a disability, that doesn't know somebody with a disability. If that's not part of your life, there's no reason for you to think about it. One of the things that I always like to point out with the tourism, industry or just businesses, period, I can't tell you how many times that I see an elevator with a trash can or a planter or something right under the button of the elevator. And that's great. It's convenient, so it appears. But what it does is it blocks my ability to pull up close enough to push the button.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't cost that facility any money. People think ADA and they think, oh gosh, what is that going to cost? It costs you $0 to move that trash can to the side of the elevator, rather under the button. And
Mhm.
now you've made it accessible to everybody. And I can't tell you how many hotel managers have said to me, I never would have thought of that. And we're going to change it right now. I'm so sorry, you know?
Yeah.
So again, it is. It's just, if you don't, if that's not your world, why would you be thinking in that way?
Mhm. So now you're planning trips for people and some quite exciting adventures for yourself. And um, how do you find these and how do you find out which ones are accessible?
Well, a lot of it is, research. And, you know, um, you can't always go by the website saying like it's an ADA accessible room. Great. I recently had a quadriplegic that was going to Universal in Orlando, and we found a suite. It was a 2 bedroom, 2 bath suite where we thought this is perfect. Her and her husband can be in one room, and then her adult children, could be in the other room. They all have their own bathroom. Wonderful. Well, the ADA room that had the bathroom, um, with roll-in shower, and it was a huge roll-in shower. The mom was the one with the disability, uses a Hoyer lift to transfer. So for one, you need a few, you know, feet, or well, like a foot, foot and a half under the bed to be able to roll the device under the bed to be able to then lay the person down on the bed, or pick them up off of the bed. And nowhere on the website does it tell me how much space under the bed there is. A lot of hotels, the bed is on like a platform. There is no roll under space. So I must have talked to 10 different people at that hotel that we had them, go into. None of them could understand why this was so big of a deal. And, they kept giving me the bed height. I'm like, no, I don't need the bed. How much space is under your mattress? You're like under the bed. What is the roll under space? And then once we got that figured out of sheer luck, honestly, I found a blueprint of this suite. And I saw in the bathroom what I call a toilet closet. So the toilet wasn't out in the open. It's behind closed doors. And I'm thinking, how is she with a Hoyer lift gonna get to the toilet now? And so all of our best, made plans and thinking that this was the perfect option for them room wise wouldn't work. And when I brought about the bathroom up to their staff, it was like, no, it's ADA. It's like, but really it's not, you know. Um, so we had to completely change rooms. We had to have 2 separate rooms, versus a suite. I mean, it became a big deal. But that's the thing, though, that is so important, to work with a travel advisor, because you have someone to advocate for you. This family didn't have to do research. They didn't have to make countless phone calls to different people to find the answers that they need. All they need to go and do is go on their vacation and have fun, you know? So it's a lot of work, to make sure, because we're not a cookie cutter demographic, you know. Just because you're a wheelchair user does not mean that, you know, my needs are the same as her needs, and so on and so forth. So you have to just take and do your due diligence to really get to know the person. I tell all of my advisors, you have to be comfortable with asking the tough questions because, booking for a non-disabled person, I don't need to know how you go to the bathroom. But if you have a disability, that's very important to know. So I need to just make sure that I have all of your needs met. So, and it's such a pleasure and honor to be able to do that. And then, when they're back from their trip or they're texting me while they're on vacation, just, oh my goodness, Jamie, like we had the best time, or, I love it. It's just such a blessing.
Now you said 100 agents that work with you now?
Yes.
So you've had to train all of them in what to look for and to do the research and
Mhm.
all of that. So talk about systems, because obviously you've got one.
Yeah, I mean, now not not everybody on the team necessarily books for those with disabilities. I mean, our company books for everybody, not just those with disabilities, but that is our specialty. But I have quite a good training in place of like, here's the questions to ask if it's somebody with mobility issues. Here's questions to ask if they're on the spectrum or neurodivergent. Here's for people with dietary issues. So I try to really lay out all of going through that inquiry process with the team, and then working with our suppliers, and showing them which ones really cater better to those with disabilities. I mean, cruising is one of the most accessible ways for travel for people, especially with mobility issues. But there are certain cruise lines as well that have wonderful autism programs, in place. And so I'm just really helping them to learn and be comfortable, booking for those with disabilities. And of course, as the owner of the company, I'm always there to step in and help if need be.
Beautiful. Yeah, because I guess when I think of cruising, especially when it comes to like a wheelchair access, it seems like sometimes those rooms are pretty small and kind of cut up. So,
Yeah, so if you have a wheelchair user, it is mandatory that you have a wheelchair accessible cabin, because you're not going to fit, whether it's a manual or a power chair or a scooter, you're not going to fit a mobility device in a regular cabin. So you have to make sure that you're booking a wheelchair accessible cabin.
and then when people travel, do most of them take a power wheelchair or the regular wheelchair? So I remember my friend saying, I was gonna bring my other wheelchair, but I realized that this parking lot is probably going to be all rocks, which it was. So I need my other wheelchair. So how do people know like what to bring or what they're going to encounter?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, and I mean, again, everybody's different. I am a power wheelchair user, but I do have a manual wheelchair that I can use for transport, but it would take me an hour to get from one side of a room to the other if I were to manually push the chair, right? So my mobility, my independence suffers if I am in a manual wheelchair. And so I don't really like it. I have it sort of as the backup plan if, God forbid, my power chair clunks out, breaks down, at least I have something. But some people's wheelchairs, power chairs more specifically, are very customized. Their seating is molded to their body. they need a headrest. They don't need a headrest. They need, a certain type of controller. They need a suck and blow type of controller versus a handheld controller. Like, again, it's not a one size fits all. And so when you're thinking about travel, for one, like one of the banes of our existence as wheelchair users is not being able to fly in your wheelchair. It has to be checked. And the airlines across the board are notorious for breaking wheelchairs.
Oh my goodness.
And, you know, that this is my legs, So if I were to fly and then I get to my destination and they have broken the controller of my power chair, also keeping in mind, as an example, my power chair is over $40,000 because of all the things that it does, right? I'm basically an Alexis, so it's not something that I can easily fix. And, it literally then completely, for lack of a better word, disables me from being able to get around. And so I did just a foldable power chair that's 50 pounds compared to the 400 pounds that my power chair is. So I have flown a couple times with that chair and it has been fine, knock on wood. But it is nowhere near as comfortable to sit in for long periods of time like my normal chair is. But we constantly have to make adaptations and think about, well, how am I going to how am I going to do this? Is the place that I'm going able to accommodate a power chair? Is it not? Is it, you have to take all these things into consideration.
But, as you're talking, I'm thinking, a private plane company could have a niche there if they just accommodated people. Because I know when you get on a bus, they somehow strap you into the bus, right? You stay in your chair and they somehow seat belt you or strap you to the floor or something,
Right.
and then your wheelchair doesn't move. But
Yes.
on the plane, they're not doing that.
So Delta is very, very close. There is a prototype, out there and everything where you would be able to stay in your wheelchair, whether it be manual or power. The seat is able to be used by a non-disabled person if they don't have a wheelchair user on that flight. And the seat would just basically fold up, sort of like old school movie theater seats. They would fold up and then the wheelchair would just back in to that space. And much like the bus, they would lock you down into the floor. There's straps and all that to lock you in place. And I mean, that is wonderful. Doesn't fully solve the problem of restrooms on a lot of flights not being wheelchair accessible. I mean, I think anybody that's taken a domestic flight knows how tiny for able-bodied people that the restrooms are on board. But so there's that too. But at least if we could be able to stay in our wheelchairs, that would be honestly life-changing for travel, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I have a lot of business people and entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast. So, hey guys, if you're in that business, there's a niche. There's a niche that is not being taken care of.
Please, please, please.
That's right. Please, please, please. So tell me about some of your adventures traveling, your personal adventures.
Yeah, I mean, we have been up in a hot air balloon. I've always wanted to, and I always thought like, how would that work? I mean, thankfully, I personally very, very light, like 90 pounds soaking wet. So I always thought, oh, well, Kevin could pick me up and put me into the basket or whatnot. But we ended up finding a hot air balloon company that had a wheelchair accessible hot air balloon. So that was incredible. We went zip lining, and I never would be able to do a regular zip line. I have the core strength to hang from a zip line, but I found that Gatorland, of all places in Orlando, had one of the world's only accessible zip lines. There's a few out there, but they're very few and far between. So in Orlando is an hour and a half from where we live. And I thought, okay, I need to do this. And they tell you when you're zipping past or over the alligators, make sure that you keep your legs tucked up because gators can jump. And like, oh, that makes me feel better. I mean, I'm not paralyzed at all, so I do have sensation and movement in my limbs, and so I was able to keep my legs tucked. But now my boyfriend, he's 6'4", so even even with his legs tucked, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you are not that far off from that water. But that was just exhilarating. Um, I actually would jump out of a perfectly good airplane. My fear is always the landing, which I know that sounds funny, but I know I would be tandem to someone, but I'm always afraid of if they land weird and my leg turns a strange position or whatnot, like I could get really hurt. So when I learned about indoor skydiving, and then again, we have a program close to us that does adaptive indoor skydiving where they've been trained to work with people with disabilities, and um, instead of going up with one person, you go up with two instructors. So to be able to have that experience and have that simulation of what skydiving feels like, that was incredible. I highly recommend for anybody to do that. We've been cruising countless, countless times. Like I said, that's probably one of the most accessible ways to travel. Um, so I love exploring new cultures and seeing new places, and if there's a way that I can get there, I'm gonna go for sure.
That is beautiful. Now, I know there are a lot of people who would love to have you plan their travels. So at this point, this is where you tell us, how do we contact you, the names of your companies, your websites, any information. This is your advertising piece right here.
Wonderful. Well, our services are 100% free. We do not charge for any booking services. So I would love to work with all of you. So our company again is Adventures by Jamie. I spell Jamie Jamie, and you can find us at adventuresbyjamie.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all Adventures by Jamie. We are on Google. You can read our reviews from our clients that have worked with us in the past, just again by searching Adventures by Jamie on Google. But yeah, I would love to help in planning your next accessible adventure.
All right, well, thank you. So now I have a personal question.
Yes.
What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
Honestly, helping other people check off those bucket list items, helping them to see the world, getting emails or text messages from clients that, oh my gosh, we never thought that this would be possible, and just spending time with those that I love, those that mean the world to me and everything, and just, you know, doing what I can to try to make the world more inclusive and more accessible to everybody.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and your stories and your information. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so I have one last question before we finish. What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
To always believe in yourself, to never give up on your dreams. As I mentioned before, to always fail forward. There's always lessons in those road bumps that we all face. And, to just continue seeing the positive in the world.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you. All
We'll talk to you again soon.
right.